Body's upside down.
Thank you.
So from Susie, you haven't heard anything.
Oh, I think they printed maybe a little funny.
And we have to switch them
Okay.
to
The
landscape and then, so I'll come show them. But
I'm sorry, also there's different tabs. So there's 3 tabs on the Excel spreadsheet. Sorry.
Can they hear us okay on?
All 3 tab landscape.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Your son's gonna give us a thumbs up. Thank you. Okay.
Well, there's no vote taken, so we don't necessarily need a quorum today.
No, we just need to approve the
Minutes.
minutes and that's it. We do need a quorum for the home.
How many is quorum for home two?
4? Great.
there's 7
Oh,
altogether, so four would be a majority.
Yeah. So we have 1, 2, 3. We need 1 more. 1, 2.
We may have
1 or 2. Claudia.
Matt.
Terry. We have Trace. We don't heard anything from, Stephanie's not gonna be here. Michael is not gonna be here. Okay. So those 2 jobs I'm hearing. I assume Dayon,
So you got 1, 2,
we have 3.
no. 4.
Who's 4? Jeff Davis.
Jack.
Karen.
Karen.
2, 6. We need 2, so we need Dayon.
Well, there's Jim. Oh, but
Yeah.
not a quorum for
We do, I think,
home. Is there-
Wendy, Jeremy, Jam, and then
Okay,
you, that makes 4.
okay.
Those are the only 2 that they either need to open their on or they need to.
Minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, I have them up.
We need to compile it.
We might have to decide for that.
Yes.
So there's something I'll take it down.
Oh.
Picking them, that's
Okay. Wait outside.
Do you want to wait?
That's 1:45, so early. Oh, yeah, why don't you just wait? Well, we got people online. Hey, come on in. You're fine. John Hastings is on. John Hastings. Isn't that?
No, he should wait outside.
I was gonna say, who's this?
Yeah.
You're doing
He has to turn around and stare at the wall. That's too many for him. Yeah. Because they have to give the registration. Pay the 14. So we'll have that.
This is the 14th. Someone get the wrong week.
Are you talking about housing first time?
Thanks, Neil.
Oh.
Do you want? Like, we're excited about that. Absolutely.
Like,
All right, let's get started. Are we recording? Okay. All right, good morning, everybody. We're gonna get started. Sorry, we're a few minutes late. Welcome you all to this Housing Trust Fund Advisory Board and Home Consortium meeting. We're gonna do some quick introductions here. And then we need to do an approval of meeting minutes for Home Consortium today. We'll do Housing Trust Fund, their meeting next week. So I'm going to, most people are online, so we're gonna do, I will call on people. And if you'll just tell us your name, who you're with, and then whether you're on the Housing Trust Fund or the Home Consortium. And we'll start here in the room with Matt Dahl.
Hi, I'm Matt Dahl. I'm with the Housing Trust Fund.
Josh?
Hello, everybody. I'm Josh Narvez, Housing Trust Fund Manager.
Karen Stone, Housing Trust Fund.
Peggy Daniel, I'm with West Valley City on the Home Consortium.
Jennifer Jimenez, Operations Manager for Housing and Community Development.
And I'm Mike Ackerlow. I'm the Director of Housing and Community Development. Housing and Community Development. Forgot what I was doing today.
I'm Derek Davis. I'm with Regional Development.
And I'm Kevin Austin, the Housing Section Manager with Housing and Community Development.
Let's go to Blake Thomas.
Yeah, Blake with Harriman City, and Michael Malloy usually attends this, but he's out of town on vacation, so I'm covering for him. I'm the Community Development Director at Harriman.
Thanks, Blake. Saskia.
Saskia DeVries, Business Strategy Manager with Salt Lake County.
Claudia.
Hi, Claudia O'Grady with Utah Housing Corporation. I'm on the Housing Trust Fund.
Jeff.
I'm Jeff Davis with MSR Design, and I'm on the Housing Trust Fund Board.
Thank you. Jeremy. Can't hear you, Jeremy. Okay. John Hastings.
Yeah, John Hastings with Blue Line Development. We're a partner on the Morrissey.
Great. John. Jim.
Yeah, Jim Spong with Taylorsville City on the Home Consortium.
Stephen.
Steve Schaefermeyer with South Jordan here for home.
Wendy Thomas. Yeah. Welcome, Wendy. Ashley.
Ashley Grant with Blue Line Development.
Dehan.
Dehan Eskich, Gardner Policy Institute, Trust Fund Advisory Board.
Then I've got a 385 number.
That's Susie Featherum. I'm with FFK and I'm on the Housing Trust Fund Advisory Board.
Thanks, Susie. And then we got Todd Reeder here in the back of the room. All right. And he's with
CDCU, Community Development Corporation of Utah.
Representing the Morrissey. All right. Let's do home. Yep. So the first thing we have are the Home Consortium meeting minutes. You need any comments from the Home Consortium on the minutes from our last meeting? If not, we need to get a motion to approve those minutes.
I can make a motion to approve the minutes from, what's the date?
124.
From 124 to accept them.
Need a
I'll
second?
make a second. This is Jim.
Thanks, Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Other Home Consortium, we got two.
So this is the one from December 13th.
Of December 13th.
We need to up two. There are 2 minutes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we have another set of minutes from the December 13th meeting. We need a motion to approve. Anybody from the Home Consortium?
It's not me.
No.
I can make a motion again to accept the December 13th minutes
Peggy?
for approval.
Second?
I'll second again. This is Jim.
Okay. I'm going to ask if there's any opposed. Okay. Pass the minutes. Great. Thank you, Home Consortium Housing Trust Fund, for listening. Okay. So this is a new process for us here at HCD to run our home RFA new development applications through both the Housing Trust Fund and then to the Home Consortium. We're figuring this out a little bit this year, so there's been some questions and there's certainly some things we would do differently. on the upcoming RFA, but we appreciate your patience as we go through this. The point of today is for us to take time for you all to hear a presentation from the applicants, from the 3 applicants for the new development home funds. And you can ask them questions, get information from them, and then use that information as you score the scoring sheet that we sent you. One second, Karen. The Housing Trust Fund, we will need your scoring sheets in by March 12th. And then you all have a meeting on March 14th to review those scores and then make a recommendation to the Home Consortium. You will not, your recommendation is purely that. It's not a decision making. You're making a recommendation to the Home Consortium, whose responsibility it is to review all home applications and make a final recommendation to the urban county mayors. So they will take everything that you have said into consideration as they make their decision, and then they will pass your scores and the Home Consortium scores will be passed to the urban county mayors for their final recommendations. Karen, did you have a question?
No, I didn't get a score sheet.
Josh, do we want to, we'll get you one.
Thank you.
Did we have an extra copy?
We do have extra copy paper copies.
Sorry about that, Karen. We need to talk about a few ground rules today. Pull these up real quick for scoring. So please make sure that all of you have signed conflict of interest forms this year. If you have any kind of conflict with any of the applications or applicants that are coming in, will you please make sure you let us know? As a reminder, you cannot receive any gratuities from the applicants. Let's see here. Remember that your scores should be based on the application that has been submitted. Questions should not be asked about things outside of this application. So if you are familiar with another project that an applicant has done, we should not be talking about that project. It should just be focused on this application. Your comments or your scores should reflect the information you gathered. You can include in your scoring and the way you score any previous experience, but it should not be part of the conversation that we have today. So if you have had a really positive experience working with an applicant and you think this is a team that can pull up what they're going to say, you could reflect that in your scoring. But it should not be part of the questions that you asked today. Is that clear?
Clarification.
Sure.
What you're saying is if you're familiar with either in previous dealings with a particular company, that it is okay if you don't take yourself off of evaluating them, only if you're receiving gratuity.
Yes. Yeah. If you have any kind of, you've been working with them, if you have you've been a consultant on a project, or you've done something that would need to be disclosed. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. So the plan is, just to reiterate, today is really gathering information, giving you the opportunity to ask questions, and then next week the Housing Trust Fund will meet to review their scores and make their recommendations to the Home Consortium. The Home Consortium will meet the following week to review these applications in addition to the tenant-based rental assistance and rental rehab applications. And they will make their recommendations on that day. It will then go to the mayors, urban mayors. So any questions? All right. Any questions online? We good to go? Okay, fantastic. I think our first one is the Morrissey. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So Todd, do you want to come up to the table? And are you
present or plug in or just
sure
do a thing?
Do you have a thing?
I got
Should we put a thing as first, or how are we doing
this.
I guess we're gonna figure it out right now.
Dance and do live like this. Old school.
Can he share if he's on the WebEx?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not on the WebEx. It's a good call though.
Open that thing. It's this one, right?
Is that a point deduction because he's not on WebEx? Yes, half a point.
I do have two representatives on WebEx, so that would be it.
All right.
They cannot do
The
that.
PowerPoint you said?
Sorry, is there a problem?
Yeah, is that what you said? Okay. Thank you for getting that.
Point.
Oh, okay.
Pointing is the clicking.
Okay, we started. I know we have 10 minutes. Right up 8:45. Good job on keeping time. My name is Todd Reeder. I'm the CEO of Community Development Corporation of Utah, CDCU. We're a local nonprofit affordable housing developer. And we're also a CHODO, Community Housing Development Organization. So CEO of the CDCU CHODO, got all our acronyms out. With me is Ashley Grant and John Hastings. They're with Blue Line Development. They're a regional developer out of Montana. They have completed about 50 projects in the region. 13 of them have been specifically permanent supportive housing. And we partnered with them on an existing project, Richmond Flats, that we just opened up later this year, the end of the year. And then we just broke ground on the Howick project, which is just around the corner from the Morrissey. And that is a 150 unit project. So we have a good track record with Blue Line. We really enjoy working with them. That's our development team. Go to the next slide, just some quick details. This is a project's located about 40th Southwest Temple in Mill Creek. It's currently vacant land. The zoning, we rezoned the property in September of 2021. We have a development agreement to complete with Mill Creek. I want to emphasize the great support from Mill Creek, from the mayor to economic development, the West Mill Creek Community Revitalization Area. They're really trying to help get some funding and on helping with this project, but the support has been overwhelming with them to get this project complete, and we're anxious to get this done. It is transit oriented. It's close to the Meadowbrook track station. Say 0.35 miles. A third of a mile is key to get some bonus points. We're just outside of that. It is in a transition area. It's a lot of industrial use, and maybe you can go to that next slide, just a ugly little map of the zoning map of Mill Creek. We can see all that purple area is all manufacturing, and it's slowly turning. Our property is right in the middle. It was originally zoned with residential. We had it rezoned to MB to get the density we needed. But you can see that whole area from the top of the map is 39 South. That's where the track station is. The hub project is there. Bud Bailey is right across the street from this project. And then down south, there's a lot of development going on. The Howick project is just to the south. We also again, we're little pioneers in this area, but the walkability to the north is Harmony Park in South Salt Lake, and to the south, a brand new park that Mill Creek has done on a project with Murray. So there's a park right there, and there will eventually be connectivity to the Murray station to the south, which is actually maybe a little closer when you're able to walk there. So we're excited about the location of this site, walkability. We run to the next slide real quick. The program, we have 64 units. They're all one bedroom units. This is a senior project, so it's restricted to folks at 62 years and older. There's 5 units set aside for formerly homeless, 7 units set aside for people with disabilities, and 9 units fully ADA accessible. The unit mix, you can see there, they range from 30% AMI to 50% AMI. But the rent's going from $447 to $944 current rents. Some of the community amenities we have: a community room, wellness room, fitness room, community laundry, computer room, community gardens, bike rack, leasing office, and of course the record player in the lobby is a wonderful community asset. Next slide, just real quick on it. This is just the typical floor plan. I just point out that every unit is the same. So it's all one bedroom units. Everyone will have a patio on the ground floor or a balcony to get outside, and we're emphasizing the community room. That is an important piece as we socialize everybody in this project. We want to keep we've thought through a lot of areas to socialize our residents, both with community rooms, fitness rooms, and then of course outdoor space. If you go to the next slide, is the site plan. And you can see like a cruise ship for our senior folks. It's the parking, there's 51 parking stalls. So about a 0.8 parking ratio. Working with the city, we had to have a fire lane, so that back wraparound is closed all the time, won't be accessed to the public, but we would like to utilize that for, again, outdoor space for folks to walk and use. And if we hit that next slide, just quick, this is just a shot of the outside. We really want to emphasize, again, outdoor space, getting a community together. We have what we call the big front porch or the back porch for the residents to utilize and enjoy. The next one, this is the little project that could and would. Morrissey actually received tax credits. We were in 2022 tax credits, and we had secured 90% funding for this project, and that included $500,000 from this the Salt Lake County Home Funds in the form of two different grants, like $350 and $150. But the times were tricky for this project in that we had escalating finance costs, escalating costs. The timing was very difficult. We had to get the credits placed in service by December of 2024. So in June, we determined that we're still missing some the last bit of funding for this project, and thought it would be best to rejigger this project and go back out for tax credits. So we returned the tax credits in June. September, we applied again for new tax credits. Very competitive round. Very frustrating, but we did submit. Our score was the highest score of all. It would have been funded for sure. It was the highest score of anyone, but of course, doing their due diligence at Utah Housing, we had a revision that we had some walkability issues. Our sidewalks weren't connected to our transit, so we lost some points there, and just that little cut of points, we missed it, the awards for December of 2023. Next slide. So our next steps, we are anticipating applying again for tax credits in June, and we'd love to get an award in September. We'd close and start construction in November of this year, and then the project we completed a little year later on December. The most important thing about this project to note is that we are shovel ready. All the zoning entitlements are all approved. A conditional use permit is approved. The building design is 100% complete. We have a building permit ready to go with Mill Creek. We have gone back through and secured the funding sources we had before, and hence why we're here. We're checking the boxes here to get all the same funding sources we had. And then I also wanted to remind you that we are a CHODO, and we've applied for CHODO funds up to $250. Our request is for $500,000, and however much, I think we leave that to you all to determine how much of CHODO funds we could use for this project. We welcome as many as we can get for that. And then in addition, we've applied for CHODO funds for just operations separately, and maybe that's on the other board. So quickly, the last slide, the nerds on sources and uses. Just a recap of where we're at. We're anticipating getting the tax credit equity to come in September if we're awarded. We'd have a permanent first mortgage when we're all said and done with the project. We already have Olene Walker funds to the tune of $1.3 million. We have State Office of Homeless Development or Office of Homeless Services Home ARP money, $850,000, and the county ARPA money at $960,000. This request is $50,000 or $500,000. Sorry, makes up the total sources for the project. So that is my well under 10-minute presentation.
I said you have a minute left.
So anyway, let me tell you about this project in therapy. It's been a very challenging project, but I want to emphasize the support of not only in the affordable housing community, the city. This is something that will get done. I'm confident we'll get there. So yeah, it's presentation. So any questions?
So the total amount that you have left, you've funded everything but the 3%, or that you're asking from us to finish this project, or?
So we funded. Again, we have to get the tax credits. That's a key piece.
Okay.
It's like a cart and horse thing.
Right.
And these are always challenging to come to you. You know, they don't really align for when we have projects. The funding sources are coming in at all different times, but we're confident that with this one,
Without the tax credits,
this project wouldn't happen.
not gonna happen,
No.
right? Okay.
Yes, and but it's a very competitive round. I'd love for Miss O'Grady to say, I guarantee you, I've tried to get her to say, yeah, I guarantee we'll get you tax credits, but it doesn't work that way. And I totally appreciate how they do their process. And it is
So the total in for us would be $1 million.
500,000.
Did you give back the other 500 then?
Yes.
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 Good question.
Okay.
So thank you. So this project was awarded in a previous
Yes,
home
I
application.
remember.
We did
Two
two
rounds,
rounds.
yes.
That has been recaptured and is part
Okay.
of this money that you are able to put back out.
Okay, all right.
Just try to get it all back,
Okay,
get the band
so
back
this was
together.
returned.
Good question. Thanks, Peggy, for that clarification.
Any other questions?
No, you go ahead.
Can you talk, did I read right in the application about you're gonna provide supportive services for 12 of the units? Is that right?
Yep. We have a partnership with First Step House on all of our other projects, and they'll be the service provider. And part of our operating budget includes service of money to go to the case managers and service for the clients.
So that, and there's a lot of, you provided a big packet, everyone did, so if I missed something, but so in the budget that you provided, the $28,000 for the case manager and case manager supervisor, that is in those
They're in
operating
our
costs.
operating budget, yeah.
I have more, but go ahead.
I was going to say, what kind of services is First Step going to provide?
So they specialize in the people with disabilities and veterans, and specifically behavioral health issues.
What kind of disabilities?
They
I'll give you
substance abuse.
substance
Behavior, yeah,
abuse.
correct.
So that's the kind of disability that
That's
you're
what they
shooting
specialize
for?
in, but they also are one of their title is the First Step House. They're currently supporting all of our residents up at Richmond Flats, and so they don't just only work with behavioral health. They're working with individuals to help them stay stable in housing.
Okay, so are they on site? Do they service someone if needed on a 24-hour basis? What do they do exactly? I'll let you know. I'm familiar. I have a son who is now 51, who is autistic, and he receives services through CTA and the University of Utah. So that's why I'm asking more specific questions in regards to this.
Yeah, they don't have someone assigned specifically to this project, but they have a case we have an office for them that they can come and work with their individuals however often they're needed to work with. And then it's not an on-site 24-hour thing.
Okay, and then my other question is, since this is a senior project, some seniors do have vehicles. How much parking? Because I found out at one of our last meetings that parking spaces, free parking spaces, is not mandatory. I don't know if it's just Salt Lake or the whole state of Utah. It set me back a little. And
Parking is the number one issue with all developers and development, but we worked with the city, and there are we have a 0.8 ratio, so there's 51 stalls for the 64 units at this project, and aware that residents have vehicles. We also have arrangements with aging services and transportation and that type of thing. But we did parking studies with folks on affordable housing units in general, the use of parking, and we think we have enough parking for this project.
okay, and let's get to one of the other crucial things, food. How close are grocery stores? Again, you're talking about people who, generally speaking, I feel fortunate in the fact that I can go out and I do walk quite a ways, but a lot of seniors my age, you know, when you get in your upper 70s, and that walking is a problem. And if they don't have a vehicle, and let's face it, UTA doesn't run
be-
around
that can
all
be
over.
here, right.
And they're not real happy about you bringing in several bags of groceries either. So, how close is a grocery store?
This is a food desert, and that was one of the things we looked at as a community development, and it'd be great to bring in a food purveyor right there in this area that is transitioning, because it's not as much housing. It's traditionally not a housing area. There's not grocery stores nearby. Now there's Sunnyvale Market. There's a farmer's market that is nearby, but there's nothing that.
You can't
walking
run down
distance-
and get
Right.
a carton of milk.
Correct, but
You can. So.
we work with, again, aging services and other entities that will provide shuttles, and today will be, this week we're gonna go to the store at Wednesdays at 4:00, and there'll be a shuttle to go to Smith's, and everyone can get their groceries. But that's part of the programming with the property manager.
Okay, I find putting people of low income in food deserts not a good idea. And I will speak that right up front. For me, that is not good. And
I think the Bud Bailey is a low income place. It's been there for a while, and I'm not saying that that's a reason to do it, but we're not alone. There's definitely a lot of apartments, and they are coming in. There's bodegas that are walkable, but again, I understand your point.
And that nutrition is a problem for seniors.
Agree.
Okay, we got 4 minutes, so are there others with questions? Matt, did you have?
I did, but if there's anyone online, I'll defer to them first, since I've already asked.
Maybe Ashley wants to say something to our property management.
I do have a question.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, so just concerning the senior housing, it looked like most of your apartments are studio. I wasn't sure. Are there any apartments for seniors who may be aging in the higher end spectrum and might have a live-in assistant to help care for them, or are they just mainly studio apartments?
They're all one-bedroom apartments. In theory, you could have a couch bed in the living room for that, but we didn't design this with that in mind. It was a one-bedroom unit.
Okay. Oh, great. That's my only question. Thank you.
And for people who are online, if you have a question, if you wouldn't mind doing the little raise hand, then we can see who's got questions. Ashley, did you want to say something?
I was just going to mention back to the food desert portion. We're working to solve that within the programming of the project, what we can, understanding that this is a area that is up and coming with development, and it's anticipated will be filled in with those amenities at some point in time. But we're doing what we can locally with the project in those partnerships.
It's oftentimes hard to get groceries in there unless you have the households. And so it's kind of like you need the households first, build the demand, then the grocery store comes in. Unfortunately, it's a kind of
strike a deal with a grocery store and say, we're going to be building here. We would like you to put something here because it makes
Can I
sense.
say something? This is Dayon.
Sure. Yes, Dan.
So I used to do grocery store site selection. I've been to thousands of grocery stores and opened dozens. And to that point is the reasons food deserts exist is either there's no housing or there's crime. And so I think it's a big burden to put it on the housing provider to say we need food. I think it'll come once the demand is there. And if we think of what happens as the area develops, land costs go up, and you're going to come back and ask for more money, right? If you wait just for the food thing to get solved out. So that's all I'll say on that.
But I'm saying if you go and get up in the morning and you have nothing to eat and you have no place to go, that is a health problem too. And if you're at the end of the day and you have nothing to eat and no place to go, And as a senior, I feel I need to speak up and say seniors especially have limitations of being able to get around. And you're not providing a parking place, so to speak, so that you could have every senior have a vehicle, so that they could hop into a vehicle. The county only comes and does pickups at certain times. I have tested them personally just to see how you could get. You know, I've gone out and researched this because if I'm going to sit on a board, I'm going to know the problems of the people who are depending on us to make wise decisions to make their lives better. And if, you know.
Karen, we're out of time now. So I'm sorry, and Claudia had a comment. I want to make sure Claudia is heard and then we can move on.
Yep, I just want to say that I support this project. I think it's a great project. I appreciate the concerns about the food issues and the parking issues, but you know, this is I think it's important to always do the very best that we can and not let perfect be the enemy of something that's really great. So I'm going to support the project.
Thanks, Claudia. Karen, your points are well taken. And I think there's that balance of trying to get them in, and maybe in the meantime, the developer providing some kind of service to help bring those in. So we need to wrap up. So Todd, thanks for coming. Ashley and John, thank you for coming. We're going to move on to our next applicant.
I have more food district. Thank you for bringing that up.
Well, you know, I have to say, you know, I sit in an apartment where I can walk to
Carol, do you want to come up to the table?
a Harmons, I can walk to a Sprouts, I can walk to two Macy's and one Smith's and a Walmart. And I'm going.
Hi, Carol. You didn't have to. You can go anywhere you want.
I'm on.
You're good.
Sure.
We can pull up the narrative if you'd like, or if you just.
Yeah, we'll do the narrative. I mean, I did print my own thing, but.
Do you want to introduce yourself to
Super easy.
everybody?
Mine's easy. Yeah, I'm Carol Hollowell, and I'm the Executive Director and CEO of SwitchPoint. And so we have an amazing project that we've had open, but to get our phase 2 done, when we saw this grant available, we thought maybe that will help us finally get phase 2. So I'll give just a little bit of background about the project itself. It's our second one on North Temple. They're about 400 yards away. First one was the old airport inn, and it has 100 units. And again, we focus on similar to your last project you just heard, but equally affordable housing for seniors and veterans in that 30% AMI and below. Yes, they are all studio, because it was conversion of a hotel. So when we saw the Fair Park Hotel come up, we bought that as well. And so our first tranche of payment, if you will, occurred with OHS, some CARES money. And so we purchased it. It was 13 million. And so the state gave us 10.3. And then we raised a little bit more through Utah Impact Partnership to at least purchase it and renovate the existing units. We had put kitchenettes into half the units. The other half had them already. So our phase 2 is really about the community service. And what's really important for us on this population is to always have an engagement and the case management. We have doctor comes in every week and visits these clients so they don't have to go somewhere else. We have a food pantry right on site at these 2 facilities. So we need the space so that we can have that pantry so they don't have to go 400 yards away. That project right now is filling in the pool and building a structure on top of it so we can have a community space and then 4 different offices. So we were able to raise some of the money, and so we've just been sitting. We are shovel ready as well. We've had our permit since September, but we were just short the last 1.2 million. So yes, you're last in on this project. Currently we have it varies with couples that come in too. So some of them are married, but we have 94 units. This would also allow us to finish the last 3 units because we've had to use them as case management rooms until we build this new community space with case management rooms in it. There's listening to what your concerns were. We totally believe it. Very few drive. They can't afford to drive. Vehicles are expensive. And so we actually sell our parking stalls. And so that's, a little bit of revenue on the side. But we realize that there's, so we have Walmart visits every day. So we transport them in a van to kind of answer some of those questions that I heard of your concerns. But we know that they have a lot of those same issues, but Meals on Wheels comes. We have shuttles that go every day. But I think our biggest concern for these seniors is engagement and taking away the isolation and making them feel like they're part of the family. And it's worked really well. We're about 87% that have stayed with us, since we opened. And that's, to me, that speaks volumes that they're happy and they're thriving and they know that they don't have to leave. So, nutshell version. Wow, I did that in 3 minutes.
And you answered all my questions.
I was listening. I was glad he let me in early because then I thought, I could just speak to all your questions. But so we didn't have to do a light tech, and so there's a lot of those other things that the other project had. But I think just addressing this is we just got to figure out how to finish that community space.
Good. Questions? Matt.
Two questions are, you had under the section, like if you don't get the funding that you need, what would you do? You said you'd get revenue from micro enterprises. What's that mean?
What does that mean? Yeah.
And then the follow-up question is, I was meant to ask this for the previous one too. I know all these projects have a large capital stack, but all this funding has to interconnect, and I guess I just wanted to double check and see.
Ours was done though.
Yours is all done,
so
so this is just getting
phase 2,
plugged into all of that.
Our phase 2, so the people are living there. We moved them in May of last year, but we just didn't have enough funds to do the phase 2, which was filling the pool and building this building on top of it. So truly, we're not having the same problem as reapplying for light tech or anything like that. So it's a simpler project in that point. SwitchPoint is unique in the way that we do our micro enterprises. So as an example, the airport, the Point Airport, which is just down the street, our kitchen does all the Meals on Wheels for Tooele County, and so it generates income. We also then do all the meals for the overflow and the micropod camps that we run, so it can generate income. So we make the food and take it down. So all of our facilities somewhere that in each county have a way to, like we have a coffee roasting business, and we have thrift stores, and we have doggy daycares, and we have aeroponic gardens. So our micro enterprises throughout the state generate about 70% of our operating revenue.
Thank you.
It just makes it, to not receive funding, we just like we've done now, is we'll say, well, we're not going to start construction until we actually have all of it gathered, and so we would just wait a little bit longer if we couldn't get the loan.
Claudia, you got a question?
I do. My preference always is to see these projects use tax credits, and the reason is because you can put so much more into the rehab of the project. We see some of these hotel motel conversions and other ACC rehabs that don't do sufficient rehab, and they come back to us 15 years later and say, we need to do this whole thing all over again because it wasn't done right in the first go round. I just want to be sure that, and again, this is a project that I support, of course, but I want to be sure that we're putting sufficient resources into the project so that we don't have to. We do it right at the outset, and we don't have to see this come back for more money in a few short years. And that's my concern.
Yeah, and I totally understand that, especially with the age of these 2 hotels that we did purchase on North Temple. We felt like we put sufficient monies in when we did the remodel. And as an example, on this particular hotel, the Fair Park, we had to rip out all electrical. And that was like $800,000. It was a big deal. So we felt like we did it right the first time with the construction. That we at least have now P-TECH units. We know that we have a reserve every year coming off of the revenues of the rent that we're going to have to replace something. That's just standard. But there's nothing that's major that we did not account for when we first purchased and did the renovations.
We have other questions? Karen, Peggy, questions? I don't see anybody online. So these are considered permanent supportive housing,
Uh-huh.
correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
And did you say all of your AMIs are below 30?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. I'm just kind of curious too, how do people find out about SwitchPoint?
How do they find out about
Yes.
us? Like the clients, you mean?
Yeah.
They sure do. As an example, the senior projects, we have 400, and I just checked it yesterday, 439 on our waiting list to get into this project. And through the coordinated entry, if they are already into the system, then, and they're gonna get a prioritization because of age and income, then we'll get a referral through the coordinated entry. And it's just sad because we know we could do 1,000 more of these units and, you know, for Salt Lake County and build them with seniors who are, you know, on that. Our average income on our seniors right now is $892. And so being able to charge them $450 a month rent, and it includes other utilities, is a big deal for them. And well, we can't do that if we had a lot of debt, right? It has to be minimal debt to make sure that we can pay for staff 24/7 and the case management and give them what they need.
And if the approval came in at a lesser amount, what would you do
We
to
go find
bridge that
the
gap?
other amount.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, it was, well, I'll see what we can get, and then, of course, we're always fundraising or always trying to figure out something, but it would give us at least a starting point to say, all right, we ended up getting 500,000, so we still need, you know, 600 more.
Okay.
So you said you're shovel ready. So if you don't get the full amount of money, are you going to lose any
No.
of the funding that you currently
No,
have?
none of that funding, it was all, a grant, and it's sitting in the
Still
checking
sitting
account.
there?
Yeah.
The application said that this would be a 30-year, looking for a loan, 30-year term, 2% interest annual payments. The other ones we're talking about deferred cash flow and some of that kind of stuff. So are you just looking at this being a typical repayment each year going forward? Nothing unique about that?
No.
Okay.
Keep it simple.
I like that. I just want to make sure.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Excuse me, do you have a card?
He say figure it.
Okay.
Do we have anybody online from City Plaza?
9:35 is when it goes.
Okay.
We got through.
We just walk across the parking lot. Are they over there?
Oh, there's Janice.
Janice.
We have someone
Hi.
on IRL. How you doing?
Huh?
We have someone on IRL in real life.
In
Oh,
real
I was
Me too.
Oh, no, we just.
Sorry, let's see.
And then, this position is a learner position.
Yeah, yeah, and just to kind of give you an idea of the others as well, so.
Okay, while we're waiting, if you want to grab any snacks, there's
That's one of them. Okay.
some muffins and fruit and drinks over there. Thanks to there.
It's their show. They've been all sitting.
Thank you, nice so much.
That box and just bring it.
I'm just here to grill people. I don't stop like that.
Hello. Hi, how are you? I am doing just fine. How about yourself?
But I just.
That's the hot seat. Have a seat. So much. Is Troy coming? Or are you doing the?
You know, we didn't have a lot of time to coordinate yesterday. It was kind of a crazy day, so, I hope he shows up. If not, I'm gonna handle it.
Because I think you're on at 9:35.
Yeah.
Is that right? So we got 15. We can wait, or we can just go ahead. And do it.
I'm happy to go.
Okay.
I'm just pulling, I'm not fubbing you guys, I'm just pulling up my notes.
This question's the same for all of them.
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
was the main.
Yeah, okay, it didn't change this one, so, or I.
I'm just gonna wave to the people online.
Hey, and just for everybody, before we get started with Janice, after Janice presents, we will go through, there's a couple of things I want to talk to you about in terms of scoring. And then also we'll discuss Chodo, what that means. I think we might have given you some information, but we wanted to just go through that again so that you're aware of that before you score. But we'll go ahead and turn it over to Janice for New City Plaza Apartments.
Okay, so I think everybody's probably familiar with New City Plaza, but New City Plaza is the property directly north of here. We have 299 units that we've moved out of public housing and into project-based Section 8, which allows us to use the traditional mechanisms to leverage to take care of it. So we have 4% bonds. It serves a population that is just not served on the market. It's 30% AMI and below. And the average income right now is between $13,000 and $14,000. We are mid-renovation, and as you would, well, I didn't anticipate this, but as you open up walls in a 50-year-old building, you find some really surprises, and we've had that happen. And so we've applied for 1.2 million. And I guess I'll open it up for questions. Did I miss any key piece of information that anybody would like to hear?
I was going to say, well, being someone that had a home up in Montana that was built in 1903, and when we remodeled, I know exactly what you mean. You open up and you just hope you don't find a dead body.
We haven't found that yet. We did our biggest challenge is anticipating. We've had to upgrade the fire panel, which is health and safety, and that originally that was going to be grandfathered in, but given some of the changes we've seen and some of the challenges, the fire department from Salt Lake City has asked us to do an upgrade to bring it up to code.
Okay, that brings me to one question. Since it's a multi-story building.
Yeah, one is 16 stories and the other is 7 stories.
And that, what kind of procedures have you put in place for fire escape and for fire notification? Because if you're on the 16th and the fire starts on the 2nd, you're not going to smell the smoke.
We've got an alarm system, and so it's up to code.
And I would assume that the elevators shut down at that point in time, so that escape has to be through the stairs. Staircases on at least 2 ends. Okay.
Matt, did you have a comment? And Claudia, did you have one too? So Claudia's hands is raised. Okay,
Yeah,
Claudia. Go ahead.
Janice, I wonder if you could, I mean, this project has been, started, and it's been underway for quite some time. And I know you've had to come back in for additional resources elsewhere too. And I just wonder, do you think, I mean, is this truly representative of, all of the I mean, is this sort of the last of the requests? I guess that's my question.
That's a good point. We are working right now to rescope it with the architect and the contractor. We as we did, so we're completing building A and we're moving into building B. And so some of the surprises that we found in building A, we've projected into building B. But we're doing a deep dive right now to make sure that we understand the entire scope. We believe, to the best of our knowledge, that this is it. So how's that for a honest but kind of wishy-washy answer?
No.
Oh, well, I was gonna ask a similar question to Claudia. The other one is, in the packet, you say if you don't get this funding, or presumably if there are more issues that arise, that you talked about, I don't have the exact language, but significant value engineering, there was some adjective, value engineering. What is sort of viewed as being like the first things that would be affected by that?
One of the things we're looking at is how much of the renovation we can do in building B, which would be, I mean, what we would be doing is kicking the can down the road. But that is part of what we're doing right now, is to see what we can do. We've looked at it from like a lot of different angles in terms of, you know, could we do this in the kitchen? Could we do that? And really, we're kind of, this is kind of what we need to do to be able to preserve it for the next 40, 50 years. And you know, make sure that everything is up to code. And the other big cost is we're updating the units. And I don't know if any of you have ever been in, but they were like it's like visiting the 70s. You have the low hanging cabinets and kind of peer out to look at the living room. And so we've done it's a really nice design. It's opened it up, it's modernized it. So.
I have a question on your AMIs. So in the RFA, the preference or the priority was 30% or below.
Yes.
And you mentioned that just a minute ago when you were speaking. In the application, we're about there. It says 36%. Do you have some at 30? Are there?
The 30, I believe the 36% comes from the bonding. But it has the Section 8 overlay.
Okay.
And with the Section 8 program, the mandate is to serve like 30% AMI and below. And so the majority of the people on Section 8, it's like 95% of the people on our Section 8 program are at 38% AMI or below.
Okay.
And this is also one of the only programs that can serve somebody who has no income. Because the utilities are rolled in, and the Section 8 program allows for that.
Okay. So just for as they score next week, can you give us just like an estimate number? Are you saying like what percentage of the units would you say are 30% or below?
We're going to target all of them for 30% and below. Yeah, because it's really one of the few programs that can do that.
Okay, so we're looking at about, what was the total number of units?
299.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying targeted 299 at 30%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, as people get in housing and they stabilize their income, you know, they may go up a little bit. But that's who the program serves.
Fantastic. That's great.
I do have another question, since you were talking about upgrading and taking it from 50 years ago to since you have a 16-story building, what about earthquake code?
That was one of the first things we did, and we did that long before we planned to renovate the building. Is we had it evaluated by a structural engineer, and we were pleasantly surprised to see that it's as safe as you can get with that kind of building. So
that's good to know.
Any other questions? Anyone online?
I have two more. Both of them are a little weird. I have a note in here that there was a reference in there about the improvements being for 10 to 15 years, and I wasn't sure if you were saying and I was trying to find it in there. Does anyone remember are you saying that the improvements that are being made are to have an extended life of 10 to 15 years? Does this ring a bell to you?
It does not.
Okay, I'll find it in there. The other one is just, the other weird question is just like, how do you end up with 1 2-bedroom? Is that like,
You know, that was way before my time, and I have and it was in the building that was originally owned by the city housing authority, so I have no idea. My thought is it was probably originally set up to have an on-site manager, and so they had 1 2-bedroom unit.
That makes sense.
I didn't know that till we started planning this, and I was like, there's a 2-bedroom unit, wow.
What year was the building built?
1970.
okay, unless anyone has any clever questions, I'll just figure that 10 to 15 year.
Okay.
And I think it was for so it's right here.
That map.
Yeah. Is that what you're referring to?
Oh, it is the appliances. Yeah, the appliances.
Oh, okay. Got it. To be fair, I was reading this at 10:30 last night.
That's
And you admit it.
I was up at 10:30, but I wasn't doing anything that productive.
That's same.
Problem is you don't procrastinate. Maybe that's it.
Oh, no, I think we all do with some things, right?
Okay, if we don't have any other questions, Janice, thank you so much for coming in and
Okay,
meeting with us.
well, thank you for your time.
And we have, just saying, this is going to go through the regular process, so we will not know until after the urban county mayors meet sometime in hopefully late April.
Okay. All right, thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Janice. All right, board and council or consortium members, if you'll stay on just for a few more minutes, couple things I want to run through in terms of process. Before I do, well, let me run through these couple of things first, and then we'll open up to any questions, and if there are none, then we'll adjourn. Okay, so as a reminder, the RFA that went out had a preference, a priority for housing for very low income. The top one was, I believe, permanent supportive housing. The second one was senior housing at 30% or below. The third priority was deeply affordable housing at 30% or below. And then the last two were 60 and 80%. You will see on the scoring sheet that those top 3 priorities are weighted the most. So if they meet that, they can get a full amount of points. If they're in the 60 and 80, it is weighted enough to make an impact on their scoring. So we really wanted to make this deeply affordable housing a priority using these funds. It looks like, for the most part, all the applicants have responded to that in varying degrees. Switch Point, fully. It sounds like the target of City Plaza is fully at 30% or below, and the Morrissey has some units at 30% or below. So the way we do this is you'll score, and then we'll discuss those scores at our meeting. Of course. You're done. Janice finished up.
Oh, she did?
Yep.
Oh, hey, Troy. Hey. Oh, wow. What a
Thanks
quick
for coming.
transition. We introduce ourselves?
Sure.
Yeah.
Troy Hart and Kirk Moorhead from Housing Connect.
Nice opportunity. Janice did a fantastic job.
Did you really not? She has to be. You guys didn't run into each other. She just left. There's no. Oh, she might have gone that way.
Yeah. But we're good.
Okay.
Thank you. Nice to see you both.
Thank you, everyone.
So can you help me? So then in the population section of the scoring sheet, there's both like the committee member score of 1 to 5, but then you have the points that are associated with those specific things, but those points are sort of more, and so I'm just trying to make sure I understand how to properly score that so that when we do the weight of 5, does that make sense?
No.
If you look,
So are you looking at population served?
population.
So if at 6.1, 2, or 3, okay, if they did one of those you felt like they deserved the full 5 points.
Right.
So let's say Switch Point, for example. SwitchPoint is saying all of their units are at 30% or below. So you could reasonably say that they would receive a 5. So in your member score, you would put 5. Weighted at 5, that would give them the full 25 points.
So the total's 5. You don't, if they serve more than, if they would fit in more than one category, you don't give them.
You could, right, you don't give them additional points. The max would be 5 points. But you could adjust that. You could say, like Morrissey, they have a handful of units, so maybe they get a lower score or something. So that's really up to you, and put that in. And then if you see here, like where it says population served - 25 points, that's the total amount of points in that category. Your weight
by the 5 times 5, getting you to 25. Yeah, I just wasn't. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So don't score more. Don't score more than what's in the committee score line or column. Okay. One other thing is when it comes to the bonus points, those are not weighted. Those are just simply a score of. I don't have them on here, but oh, here we go. Oh, there we go. So if you look at the committee, if you look at those scores, those are not weighted. Those are just the number of points that are available. Okay. Everything in the green above is weighted. Do we have questions on that? Any?
Who thought of this particular score? I liked our old one better.
Did you?
This to me is totally confusing, and I feel like I don't really get an input on any kind of scoring with the way you've just explained it. I mean,
and why is that?
Well, because you're saying if they meet this certain criteria that they have to have a 5. And maybe
that's
the
not what I'm saying.
project
You have the ability to score the number that you want. So if you think the SwitchPoint has a full 5 points, you can give them the full 5 points. If you think someone doesn't, you can give them 3 points. This is your opportunity to give a number of 1 to 5 and kind of think of it this way. Like if you look at the top here, 5 is excellent, 4 is good, 3 is acceptable, 1 and 2 is poor. Okay, so if you use that kind of as your measurement and put it in that column, you can say, yeah, they did an average job, I'm going to give them a 3.
Well, as I said, the last time we had more input into the scoring process, we really had to think about how we were going to score this. I feel it's kind of baked in, and personally, plus my particular sheet has some missing.
We'll get you the printed off with all the columns and everything.
Online, and then we can just send it.
Yeah, I emailed it to you.
Did you?
Oh, well, I should have been.
We'll resend out. You should have had the score sheet, but we'll resend these out so you can just do them online.
I was going to say, don't send to me.
And we'll get you a hard copy. Okay, so when we score next week, or when we start allocating funds, the requirement is that the group with the highest score has to receive the most amount of money. So if you decide out of your 1.2 million that you want to fund everybody a little bit, you do have to score, and you'll make this decision in your meeting next week, in your individual meetings. You do have to give the applicant with the highest score the most amount of money. Okay, and then you can choose different amounts for those below.
What if the highest score doesn't have the most amount of money? What if someone else is asking for more money? And does that mean if, let's say that someone is asking for 500,000 and someone is asking for $1 million, but the $1 million is number 2 and the 500,000, does that mean?
Let me get some clarity on that for you. That's a great question.
Because again, I feel that isn't
Mike,
a right way to do it.
Sure. Yeah, Saskia.
I understand this is potentially a different process than general county procurement, but the phrase is greatest consideration. So in the past, in that situation, under general county procurement policy, we've done it as a percentage. So your top scoring could get 100% of their ask, and then anyone below would be 100% or less than 100% of their ask.
Perfect.
Okay, so if you had the money, then let me just clarify. If you have the money and that, let's say you have $3 million and your top scorer has 500,000 and your second is $1 million, you can give them 500 and a million, even though you're number 2.
Based on percentages. Yes, if you did the percentage route, yes.
Because you have 300 to
Correct.
put across, so you have the full amount still available. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions on scoring? Okay, for the Chodo. So if you're not familiar with the Chodo, home regulations require that we allocate 15% of our grant amount to a community housing development organization. We received a list from the state of those Chodos in Salt Lake County. We reached out to all of them and encouraged them to apply. The county has not been very good in the past about awarding funding to a Chodo. I don't know if that's because Chodos didn't apply or what it was, but this year we got a Chodo that applied, and that would be community CDCU who did the Morrissey. So the 15% would be around $270,000, and we would look at if you felt like they were meeting the requirements of the RFA, that you would fund them that 15%. Their request is for 500. So then you could decide above and beyond that, do they just get the 15% or do they get 15% plus some other amount in addition?
So they apply, did they do 3 applications or just the 2 applications?
For the Chodo?
Uh-huh.
They did 2.
2.
Mhm.
So that 15% we can divide between both applications or just for this when they get 15%?
Just for that one.
So the 15% they applied for new development, they did a separate, as a Chodo, they could do a separate application for operations.
And how much do we have to
That's
give
5%.
them? That's
It could be
5%.
up to 5%.
Up to 5 and
If-
up to 15.
Well, so for Chodo set aside, which is the new development, it has to be at least 15%. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's just a home program requirement
Yes, yeah.
that we need to hit.
Yeah. So there's kind of this like requirement that we fund a Chodo. I would say to you that if you looked at this and said, hey, they are just so far off, they did not meet any of the requirements, nothing. I think that would give us, we could reasonably say to HUD, if they were to come back to us, I think we could reasonably say, hey, we did this outreach, we tried to get a Chodo to apply, they applied, they did not meet any of the requirements, and we could have an argument. However, if you felt like they did meet some of the requirements, it was a good application, we would recommend that you fund at least 15% of that grant amount. Spotty, do you have a comment?
I have a comment. So I appreciate that you got the list from the state of all of the Chodos that have been approved by the state, but the state does not keep up on, they don't verify annually compliance with Chodo regulations. Have you done that?
We have not. That's a great point though. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we should make sure that they're truly in compliance. Chodos require, have tight requirements on who's on your board, members of low-income communities. So I just would like to see that verified.
Yeah, we'll get that verification. So CDC is the only Chodo that applied. We'll get that verification before the meeting next week. Thanks for that. Okay, so for next week then, we will ask Housing Trust Fund, please submit your scores by
March 12th. And I'll send that in the email.
Question, who are they gonna submit it to?
To me, I will send it in the email, reminding them.
Perfect, and then I will grab yours, and then I will scan them and send them to you. Because we do hard copy.
Yeah.
Perfect, okay.
Which we can do right now.
And then Housing Trust Fund, we will see you on the 14th for your final recommendations. Okay. All right, do we have any questions? Any other questions? Thank you for going through this. It's a little clunky this year. We're figuring it out kind of as we go along. We're, like I said at the beginning of the meeting, we've learned some things that we would definitely do different next year, but I'm really excited that the Housing Trust Fund gets to be a part of this process because you're a board of experts when it comes to affordable housing development and finance. And I think the Home Consortium will appreciate your insight, your experience on this. And then of course we appreciate our Home Consortium for looking at how we best meet the needs of our county as a whole. So thank you, everybody. And then I guess we need a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Karen moves. Do we move to adjourn? Do we have a second? Second. Matt seconds. Any opposed? I think so. Thank you.
Ready to